Hello everyone, welcome to the next lab of EC270 Embedded Logic Design. In this lab, we are going to implement the pipeline digital circuit, and to understand the pipeline, we need to revise the few uh, timing requirements of a flip-flop, including the setup and hold time. This has been discussed in detail in EC111 digital circuit, and the main objective of this lecture is to quickly revise the timing requirements details. In digital circuit, you have studied about the flip-flop and the master and slave flip-flop, where the digital D flip-flop consists of master latch and slave latch. In the positive edge triggered flip-flop, your master latch is active during the low level of a clock, while the slave latch is active during the positive level of a clock, and this results in a positive edge triggered flip-flop. For this flip-flop to operate correctly, you need to the input signal of the flip-flop need to maintain the certain timing requirement, and these are specified using the setup and hold time requirement. In the setup time is the time before the clock edge, during which the input should be stable, while the hold time is the time after the clock edge, during which the input should be stable. For example, consider this circuit, which consists of the two flip-flops FF1 and FF2 along with the combinational circuit. This is called as a FF1 is called as a launching flip-flop, while FF2 is called as a capturing flip-flop. The launching flip-flop indicates that it is launching the data inside the combinational circuit, while the capturing flip-flop indicates that it is capturing the data from the combinational circuit. So the launching flip-flop takes the input D and pass it to the output Q at every clock edge. Because of the internal delay, the output Q gets the value of D after certain time after the clock edge, and this is called as the clock to output time. Then this output of the launching flip-flop is passed through the combination circuit, and the corresponding delay is a logic and routing delay. And the setup requirement of the flip-flop 2, which is the capturing flip-flop, requires that the output of the combination circuit should be stable before the setup time before the clock edge. In addition, in a practical digital circuit, there is a clock skew. Clock skew means both the flip-flop, though they are connected to the same clock, they may not get the active edge at the same time because of the internal path delay. And the worst case scenario is that the flip-flop 2 gets the clock edge before the flip-flop 1. This means the time available for the overall data movement from the output of the flip-flop 1 to the input of the flip-flop 2 is further reduced by the corresponding clock skew. So based upon this observation, we can see that here here we are showing the same observation in the using the graphical representation. Here we assume that at every positive clock edge, the launching flip-flop, it is capturing the data X and passing it to the output. And you can see that at the time T2, it is capturing the data X2 and passing it to the output Q1 after certain clock to output time period. Then the output of the flip-flop, launching flip-flop, is processed by the combinational circuit and to produce the output Y2. Okay, and this is nothing but the combinational circuit delay. This output is then captured by the capturing flip-flop at the next clock edge, which is T3, and it is passed to the output after the corresponding clock to output delay. So if we see that the T clock period is represented by TCLK, then we have the T clock out, which is the launching clock to output delay of the launching flip-flop. Then the propagation delay, which is the TP max of the combinational circuit. And then we have the setup time requirement of the capturing flip-flop. And you can see that our T clock should be greater than this value, including the clock skew. Okay. So here we are assuming that both the flip-flop receive the clocks at the same time, but it may happen that the capturing flip-flop receives the clock earlier than the launching flip-flop. In that case, available time to process the data is less, and that's why there is a T skew being added here. And this is the time difference between the clock received at the two flip-flop, launching and capturing flip-flop. So this equation ensures that if the output of the launching flip-flop changes, this will make it to the capturing flip-flop before its setup time. So this indicates that when this data moves from here and to here, this will be captured at the previous clock cycle. And when this moves here, available here, it should be available before the setup time requirement of the capturing flip-flop. So for example, at T2, the launching flip-flop is capturing X2, and it is making sure that the corresponding output Y2 is available before the setup time. So if this is the setup time, this Y2 is available before that. Okay, so that is what this equation guarantees. And what is the importance of this equation? This equation is very important since it puts the limit on the minimum value of the clock period. So you can see that this indicates the minimum value of the clock period, and hence the maximum value of the clock frequency, the maximum value at which your circuit can operate. Limit on the maximum value of the clock frequency means the limit on the speed at which the circuit can operate. So ideally you want your circuit to operate at a maximum clock frequency, but this setup time requirement and the propagation delay of the combination circuit are putting the limits on the maximum speed at which your circuit can operate. So our aim is to increase the clock frequency or reduce this one. So that means we want to somehow minimize this one. Okay, and how to minimize this one? You can see that there are 4 factors here. One is the T clock out, which depends upon the design of the flip-flop. So designer doesn't have much control over this one. Setup time again depends upon the design of the flip-flop. We don't have no control. Then the T skew, where in the T skew we don't have the it depends upon the clock distribution unit, so we don't have much control. And the last one is the TP max. TP max is the combination circuit delay, and which the designer can play around with. By designing the optimized combination circuit delay, we can minimize the TP max. Okay, so that means if you want to improve, if the designer want to improve the clock frequency, designer has to look at the how the combination circuit can be speed up. Okay, so to understand this in more clearly, let's take an example. Suppose that you are traveling from A to C. So this is A, and you are traveling to the C, and there is a changeover at B. The time from A to B is 30 minutes. And the time from B to C is 60 minutes. Okay. Assume that you can use the separate vehicle to move from A to B. So I can say V1 here and I can say V2 here. In the one case, you can see that you use the only one vehicle, so that you take going from A to C, you take the 90 minutes. Okay. So the total period for N trips will be 90 into N. Another option is that you use 2 vehicles. You use the vehicles which are 2 vehicles operating simultaneously, one from A to B and second from B to C. And you will see that the total period, the time taken will be 60 N plus 30 minutes. How? Because initially you will go from A to B, you will take 30 minutes. Then what will happen? Then you can start, another person will start from A, and at the same time another person will start from B. So the total duration will be 60 N plus 30 minutes. Since this 30 minutes is the one time constant, we can ignore as when the N becomes large. So which approach is better? Okay. So it depends upon what we want. For example, if you want the latency, for example, latency is the delay when an input is established until the output associated with that input becomes valid. Okay. So latency is nothing but the total delay when you get the when you get the output which corresponds to the particular input. Okay, so if you applied the input x1 and you get the output y1, so delay between the time at which the y1 is available and the time at which x1 is applied. So that is called as the latency. So in case of the approach 1, you can see that the total latency was 90 minutes. You want to go from A to B to B to C. And in case of the approach 2, the total latency was 120 minutes. Why? Because again, you go from A, you have B and C. So you have 30 minutes here and then you have 60 minutes. So if you start at the time T1, okay, you will go from here. So you will go from T1, then you will reach here at T1 plus 30. And then you will reach here at T1 plus, if you start at, because in the beginning the vehicle will be available, you will reach here at T1 plus 90. Here you can start at T1 plus 30. Another person can start at T1 plus 30, but this person and this person will reach as T1 plus 60. But since the vehicle is not available, he will start at only T1 plus 90, and then he will reach at his T1 plus 150. So you can see that after first one, that there will be a delay of 150 minus 150 minus 30, that is 120 milliseconds. Okay. Another is the throughput, the rate at which the new output is produced. Okay. So in the first case, you know that at every 90 minutes you are going to transfer one person to another. So the rate is 190. While in the second one, you can see that at every 60 seconds, 60 minutes, you are transferring one person to another. So you can see that the next person will come at 210. Okay, so that's why the throughput in the next one is 1 by 60 minutes. So depending upon your requirement, whether you want a lower latency or whether you want a lower throughput, you need to choose one particular approach. It may be you, in some cases you may select the first one, in some cases you may select the second approach. Okay, and the second approach is nothing but the pipelining. And what is the importance of the pipelining? What you do, you make the two circuits work simultaneously on the different set of data. So here you can see that here your two vehicles are operating simultaneously, but they are transferring different set of person. That is called as a pipelining. In the circuit level, you will make the two or multiple circuits operate simultaneously, but they will operate on the different set of data. One will operate on the previous one will operate on the current one will operate on the previous to previous one, and so on. Okay. So this is the example with respect to vehicle. Now we'll look at the example from the circuit point of view. Let's take this circuit, which is the combinational circuit where X is the input. It is passed to the two combinational circuit in parallel, F and G, and then output is combined to get the using pass through the H to get the output P of X. So when you apply the X, you can see that the Fx will take some time, which you will get the data at this point, that is F of X. G of X will be available at this time, and the P of X will take this data, and this data will make the output available at this point. Now here you can see that in this case, your F of X and G of X, you can see, look at this period. During this period, when the P of H is operating on the F of X and G of X data to generate the P of X, the F and G are ideal. Okay, so F and G are ideal. So just holding their output stable while H performs its computation. Okay, so you can see that when the H is active, F and G are ideal because they need to provide the input to the H. How to make the F and G work concurrently with H? So that my target is that I want the H, F and G to be active at all times. So I need to make so that I can use the more efficient use of all these circuits. So what does it mean? We need something which is good at holding or remembering the values of F and G. So once the F and G completes their computation, we need to add something here so that they can remember, they can capture the values of F and G, so that F and G can start working on the next set of data, and then H can take the data from here, and it can process the data. Okay, so we need something which is good at holding or remembering the values of F and G when H needs it, as well as it should free up F and G to do the other computation. Okay, so we need to make sure that F and G, once they complete their operation, they pass the data to the intermediate circuit and they can take the next set of data. Okay, and this is called as a pipelining. And what is this something which can remember the value are nothing but the registers. So we add the registers at the output. Okay. Now here you can see that F and G can be working on the input Xi plus 1, that is next input, while H is performing its computation on Xi. For example, here at time I, you take the first input which is processed by F and G. Okay. Then at time I plus 1, F and G can take the next input while H will work on the output of the F and G. At the next clock cycle, F and G can take the next input while while H will take the previous output of the F and G. And this is possible by adding the register in between the combinational circuit. This is called as a two-stage pipelining. Okay, this is very important to remember, and many people make a mistake here. This is called as a two-stage pipelining because for every path from the input to output, understand, from every path from the input to output, there are two registers. Okay, if you put the register here and if you don't put the register here, you will make a mistake. This is not a correct pipeline. For every path from the input to output, you have the two registers. Assuming that the total delay of F is say 15 nanosecond, then this one is 20 nanosecond and this is the 25 nanosecond. Okay, in that case, you can see that for the unpipelined version, the total delay is maximum of this one is 20 plus 25, that is the 45. Okay, the total delay is 45 and throughput is 1 by 45. In case of the two-stage pipelining, here you need to take the maximum of them, which is 20. Okay. So in this case, here maximum of them is 20 and here is 25. But since all the flip-flops will be operated by the same clock, you need to use the clock period of 25. Okay, both the clock period will be 25. So that's why your total latency will be 50, but your throughput will be 1 by 25 because you will be providing the new output at every clock, which is the 25. Okay, so that is the difference between the unpipelining version and the two-stage pipelining. So in case of the two-stage pipelining, your throughput, in case of the two-stage pipelining, you will have the two flip-flop or two register from every path from the input to output. In case of the pipelining version, you will have the higher latency, but you will get the better throughput. Okay, and what is the throughput? Throughput is nothing but the 1 by clock frequency, 1 by clock period. That is your throughput. Okay, so to summarize, a well-formed K-stage pipeline have exactly K register on every path from input to output. This is very important to remember. For combination circuit, it is the zero-stage pipelining. Okay, that you already know. Every pipeline stage, hence every K-stage pipeline has a register on its output. Okay, so here when we see this one, you can see that there is a register on the. It is assumed that there is a register here. We don't count this register. We count this register which are there at the output. Clock should be common to all the register. Must have the period sufficient to cover the propagation delay of the combination circuit, clock to output delay, flip-flop, setup and hold time, and clock speed. Okay, so as we have seen in the previous one, the clock period in case of the pipeline circuit, we have selected it as a 25 because it covers the combination circuit of all the combinational delay of all the circuit. We take the maximum of the combinational delay, so that's why we take the clock period of 25. And here we assume that the corresponding setup times, clock skew, clock to output delay are negligible. Hence, we don't consider those factors while calculating the corresponding clock period. So latency of the k stage pipelining is k times the period of the system clock. Okay, and in case of the throughput is nothing but the 1 by clock period, that is the frequency of the clock. Okay, for example, in the previous slide, the latency of the k stage pipelining, which was 2-stage pipelining, was k times the period of the system clock. K period of the system clock was 25 units, so your latency is total 50 units. And as we have seen here, in most of the theoretical calculation, we ignore the value of the clock out, setup time, and fuse time because they are negligible concept compared to the combination circuit delay. And also from the designer point of view, he can have the control only over the combination circuit delay and not on the rest of the parameters. So rest of the parameters we assume as a uncertainty. So suppose that my clock period is 12 nanosecond, and if your TP is 10 nanosecond, so we keep this 2 nanosecond buffer to take care of this clock out period, setup time, and the T-sleep. Okay, so whenever you find out this maximum combination circuit delay, you add some buffer, some non-negligible buffer, and then you decide your clock period of your desired circuit. Okay, so this covers the basics of the pipelining circuit, how to do the pipelining in the digital circuit, and most of this discussion has already been done in the AC 111 digital circuit. So consider this as a revision, and if you have any issue understanding this one, please refer to your digital circuit notes. Okay, so now we'll discuss how to make how to improve the clock frequency of a digital circuit via pipeline. Okay, so as we have discussed, your clock period, minimum value of the clock period depends upon the clock skew, setup time of the flip-flop, clock to output time, and the combination circuit. And as we have seen, for the designer, we have the control only over the combination circuit delay. Rest of the things we don't have any control, only it is can be optimized at the manufacturing stage. So how to optimize the TP max, that is the combination circuit delay. And to understand that, we need to understand the critical path delay. Okay, critical path of a circuit and the critical path delay. Signals experience logic and routing delay through all the logic path as they propagate from one clock register to another. For example, when the signal propagates from the launching flip-flop to the capturing flip-flop, it will pass through the combination circuit, and the combination circuit will introduce some logical delay because of the gates which are there, and the routing delay because of the distance travel between the gates or between the arithmetic circuit. Critical path delay is the delay along the critical path. That is the longest combinatorial propagation delay through the circuit. Okay, so the critical path delay is the delay along the critical path. And what is the critical path? It is the path which offers the longest logical and routing delay from input to output. Critical path delay must be shorter than one clock period. Okay, because critical path delay, you can say that it is equivalent to the TP max, and it should be smaller than the clock period in order to guarantee the correct operation of the circuit. This we have already seen. For example, you can see that this is the circuit. So this is the combinational circuit where the input is D, E, F, G, and the output is Y and Z. Okay, you can see that there are flip-flops at the input and output. Now you can see that your input to output, there are multiple paths are there. You can see that this is one path, this is another path, then this is another path, and so many paths are there from the input to the output. Now the critical path delay is the delay along the critical path, that is the longest combinatorial propagation delay through the circuit. So you can see that here by a red color, they have shown that the critical path. Okay, so the critical path is the path which will incur the longest delay from input to the output. So you can consider this as a launching flip-flop and this is as a capturing flip-flop. And when this launching flip-flop data goes here, you need to make sure that the data from here to here available before the setup time of the capturing flip-flop. And who is the going to delay the data most is the critical path in this circuit. So critical path consists of the routing delay and the logic delay. Routing delay is the time it takes the signal to travel along the wires through switch matrix and between the logic elements of the circuit. Logic delay is the time it takes the signal to pass through the logic elements, like an internal gate delay of the circuit. Usually, critical path delay is dominated by the logic delay since the routing delays are small. So you can see the things. In the beginning, we saw that your clock period depends upon the clock skew, clock to output period, your setup time, and the conventional circuit delay. Then we said that let's ignore the rest of the thing. Let's focus on the conventional circuit delay. Now inside the conventional circuit delay, there are two delays, routing delays and the logic delay. We are saying that the routing delays are very small. Let's ignore that and let's focus on the logic delay. Okay. Routing delays are largely managed by the design tool. Okay, we don't have any control over the routing delay, and at more advanced level by the manual intervention in the process. So we don't have much control over the routing delay. We can ask the tool to route, give the more importance to this path and all, as we have seen in the FPGA design flow. But overall, we don't have much control. As a DSP FPGA designers, we have a greater influence on the logic delay. So let's take this example again. You have this input capturing launching flip-flop and capturing flip-flop. Now you have been given the different delays. So you can see that this delay is 0.5915 nanosecond, then 0.2 nanosecond, this gate delay is 0.3 nanosecond. Then the total delay of the critical path will be the logic delay plus routing delay, and you can see that it is 1.6 nanosecond. You can also ignore the routing delay, but here we are considering. And why? What is the importance of the logic delay and the routing delay? Your clock period should be greater than this delay, and that means your clock frequency should be inversely proportional to the critical path delay. That is nothing but the TCPD. So this indicates that the previous circuit can be clocked at the maximum 625 megahertz. If you want to have the clock period more than 625 megahertz, you need to do something in this circuit. This circuit will not work. It will functionally will not be correct. As long as the circuit clock frequency is less than 625 megahertz, this circuit will work fine. Okay, so that is the importance of the critical path delay, because based upon the critical path delay, you will identify what is the frequency, maximum frequency at which this circuit can be clocked. And you can see that in the reality, we want our circuit to work as fast as possible. But because of this critical path delay, there is a certain limitation on the maximum clock frequency. This is the another circuit, and you can see that if you consider all the paths from the input to output, you will see that this blue color path will be the longest path. And then you can find out the corresponding critical path delay, which is equal to the 3 plus 0.5 plus 0.5. So it becomes a 4.05 nanosecond. So the maximum clock frequency will be 1.05 nanoseconds. Okay, and this circuit can be operated at the frequency which is less than this one. Okay, because you need to add some buffer for the routing delay plus additional buffer for the clock skew setup time and the clock to output time. So how to make this circuit work faster? Okay, that is the challenge we need to solve. Because as per our requirement, we want our clock frequency to be as high as possible. And to enable this one, what we do, we add the pipeline. For example, this is my combinational circuit. This is my launching flip-flop. This is my capturing flip-flop. And as of now, my clock period should be greater than the combinational critical path delay, which is a tau CPD. Okay. So I have some minimum bound on the clock period, but I want to go below this bound. So what is the option to me? Okay, I need to add the pipelining. That means I want to break the critical path delay by inserting the additional resistor. So what I do, I break this combinational circuit into the two combinational circuit. You remember the value, you remember the combinational circuit of F, G and H. Initially F, G and H were combined together. Now we are adding the flip-flop between the F, G and H. So this is the same, your combinational circuit is divided into the two parts. The effect of the adding the pipelining register is to increase the maximum clock frequency by a factor of 2. Is it correct? Can we increase the clock frequency by a factor of 2? No. It depends upon the maximum of the propagation delay or the combinational circuit delay of the two. For example, in our previous circuit, we saw that the F and G, there was a 20 nanosecond delay, and for the H was 25 nanosecond delay. So we choose that the clock period can be 25 nanosecond. We can't go below this 25 nanosecond. Okay, so this is not true. It depends upon the maximum of the propagation delay between the two divided combinational circuit. For example, you can see that this circuit without with the launching and the capturing flip-flop, you can operate at 625 megahertz because it was the 1.6 nanosecond delay. Now, fortunately, I was able to divide into the two equal parts of 0.8 nanosecond and 0.8 nanosecond. Now my clock frequency is doubled just because I was able to divide into the two equal parts. If I'm not able to, if I divide into the 0.3 and 1.3, then my clock frequency is 1 by 1.3 nanosecond. It cannot be 1 by 0.8 nanosecond. Right now it is 1 by 0.8 nanosecond because I'm able to divide equally between the two circuits. Then I can go one step further. I can divide into the 4 parts. Okay, so it is a point each of 0.4 nanosecond. So my clock frequency is 1 by 0.4 nanosecond. But if I can't divide into the 4 parts, suppose I divide it into 0.1 nanosecond, 0.1 nanosecond, 0.1 nanosecond, and 1.3 nanosecond, then my clock frequency will be 1 by 1.3 nanosecond. Okay, so you need to make sure that how you divide the combinational circuit so that you can best utilize the pipelining advantage of the pipelining the circuit. So what is the pipelining? Inserting the pipelining register clearly has an effect on the latency of the circuit. Okay, but what is the pipelining? What we do, we add the register in between the combinational circuit. We break down your combinational circuit into multiple parts. So when you add the pipelining, we have already seen that it results in the larger latency. Okay, the number of clock cycles from the input to output. For example, in this case, the latency was 2 clock cycle from here to here because of the two registers. Then here you can see that the latency is 3 clock cycles, and here you can see the latency is 5 clock cycles. So this is there will be always a trade-off. You get a better clock frequency, but your latency has increased to 5 clock cycles. Okay, so that trade-off is always be there, but it depends upon the application what you want to achieve. Okay, but you can see that you will get the very high throughput in case of the pipeline circuit compared to the non-pipeline circuit. Okay, because your throughput means the rate at which you are producing the new output, and in most of the application, throughput is more important than the latency. Okay, so let's take the example which you are going to do in the lab. Okay, in the lab you are going to discuss the pipelining for the full adder. So this is the full adder circuit which you have already implemented, and then I'm using this full adder to implement the n-bit full adder circuit. So this is the 1-bit full adder, and this will be combined to get the n-bit full adder. Okay, and in this case I have added the one stage pipelining. So you can see that I have added the registers at the input, and I have also added the register at the output. Okay, so your TA will explain this using the separate video tutorial how this circuit has been designed. And the corresponding block diagram of the circuit, you can see that these are my inputs A0, B0, A1, B1, A2, B2. Then this is the C0 carry input, and these are my output S0, S1, S2, and the C3. And this is called as a one-stage pipelining because we don't consider the registers at the input. From here to every part to the output, you can see that there is a one register. Okay, so you can consider any path. Okay, you can consider any path from here to here. You can see that there is a one register. We don't consider the register at the input because we assume that they are available. Then you can consider any path from here to here. You can see that there is a one register. You can consider any path. You can consider like this also. You can consider like this also. You can see there is a one register. So pipelining, this thing you need to take care that for every path from input to output, you should have equal number of registers. Here in this circuit, for every path from the input to output, you have the one register. Okay, so that you need to take care. And with this one, your critical path will be like this. Okay, and if you see in the schematic that you will see in the Vivado, you will see that the circuit you will see like this, and your critical path will be like this. And then you are going to do some experiment about the clock frequency in the XDC file, and you will see that you will play around with the clock frequency, and you will see that for some clock frequency you are getting your timing constraints are met, while some clock frequency your timing constraints are not met. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the I'm going to pipeline this circuit. Before that, I have some couple of questions. Does arithmetic word length affects the critical path? For example, if I give you 3-bit full adder, and if I give you 5-bit full adder, which one will have the higher critical path? Obviously, you will have the 5-bit full adder will have the maximum critical path. Why? Because in case of the in case of the 5-bit full adder, your critical path goes through the 5 full adders compared to the 3 full adders in case of the 3-bit one. So that means longer the arithmetic word length, longer is the critical path delay. Okay, so this also you need to take care. Now suppose this is the circuit, okay, and this is my critical path delay which is going from here to here. So what I do need to do, okay, I need to add the pipelining here. And to add the pipelining, what I usually do, we need to divide this circuit into the 2 separate parts. Okay. For example, you can see that I added this is called as the cut set. And what is this cut set? We are going to discuss in the lecture in the next week. Okay. So don't worry about this one. But I add this cut. This is cut set 1, and this is the another cut set 2. So in the cut set 1, the cut set should be such that your circuit is divided into the 2 separate parts. There should not be any other connection between the input to output. Okay. So once I add this cut set, you can see that the circuit is divided into the 2 equal parts, and then I'll add the flip flop here. So I added the flip flop register here. I added this register here, and now your critical path is divided into the only small one full adder. Your critical path, which is the path between the 2 registers, you can see that it consists of only one full adder. Okay, and with this circuit, you can see that the clock period can be reduced further. Now your clock period, you can see that you can see that in the previous case, your critical path consists of the 3 full adder, and now your critical path consists of only one full adder. And you will see that when you implement this circuit in the lab, you will get the better performance in terms of the clock frequency. Okay. Again, how to do this circuit, the TA will explain you, but basically you need to add the register for every in between the every full adders. Okay, so you can see that I'm registering the carry output. So that is what we have done. We are registering the carry output. The TA will explain you how to do this. And once you do this one, you will see that your critical path delay, now you are adding the register in between. Okay, and your critical path delay has now been reduced to just one full adder. Okay, and once you do the experiment, you will see that your clock period is around 470 megahertz compared to the 166 megahertz in case of the non-pipeline circuit. Okay, so these are the advantage of the pipelining. This is just brief introduction of the pipelining. The one thing which we have not discussed is how to insert the register, and this we will do it in the next regular lecture of the ELD. Okay, so as of now, this is I have covered whatever you need for the lab part, and make sure that you complete this circuit and you understand the importance of the pipeline. And I'll also suggest you to, after you complete the circuit for the 3-bit, also play around with the 5-bit, 6-bit, and see the difference between the 6-bit unpipelined circuit and the 6-bit pipeline circuit. You will see the significant difference in the performance.